Channel 2, WBBM-TV, Chicago.
The CBS late movie will be seen in 1 hour, so we may bring you the following Channel 2 special.
Market Report is next, presented by Lindley and Rain.
For most of us, our chosen profession keeps
The best in country, WACF parents.
And nice guys get washed away like the snow and the rain.
Sunny skies, cool, humid. The highs will be in the mid to upper 80s. Long-range forecast for Wednesday through Friday.
Cause I just found out the pleasure's been all mine.
There is no better way to see Illinois than by driving it, country by country mile. We're now on the state's #1 road, Illinois Route 1. Buffalo, Indians, fur traders, they all traveled this road before we did. There's a lot of history here and a lot of living, too. I'm Bob Wallace. Come on with us for a ride down Illinois 1.
The love you gave was nothing but a lie. And I just found out the pleasure's been all mine.
Greetings from Illinois 1 is sponsored in part by your Chicagoland Northern Indiana Buick dealers.
This is the heart of the big city, Halsted Street in Chicago. It's when Halsted crosses 99th that it takes on another name, Illinois 1. From that point, Route it's a long trip due south, becoming the Dixie Highway or the Main Street or the Gilbert Street of towns along the way. The road stretches along the eastern border of Illinois. It leads you far from the city life as it makes its way to the Ohio River. There are quicker ways to get downstate, but you'd miss a lot.
Grant Park High School Marching Dragon under the direction of Mr. Mike Blumar.
Most of the towns along Illinois 1 have just a few hundred, or at most, a few thousand residents. The town of Grant Park has 1,103, and nearly all of the weekend the town celebrated its 100th birthday. Grant Park is just an hour and a half south of Chicago. Not that far, really, yet it's a world away.
Push! 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 Push!
It's quiet. You can go out anywhere you want at night. We live on a farm, and even though we're on the highway, it is, peaceful and no close neighbors. Neighbors you do have, if you need help or something.
That's Judy McKinstry. McKinstry, that's one of the families that's been around Grant Park a long time. At the beginning, things weren't easy, and the early townspeople had to see Grant Park through some tough times. Fire of 1884, the tornado of 1912. It takes an awful lot of living to make a town, and here are the ones who will keep Grant Park going into the next 100 years. More than anyone, the centennial. There was some history made at the centennial. The town had its first frog jumping contest.
I don't want to hold it. There's just squirmy.
Most of the kids had caught the frogs themselves. Some said they practiced a little the day before, but things were unrehearsed.
Don't let the dog eat the frog. The dog will get violently ill.
On your mark, get set, go!
I think he's dead.
I think he's dead, too.
I can't do it.
Come on.
I'm not holding it. Not even touching it.
One thing that probably hasn't changed much in 100 years is that frogs evoke strong reactions from some folks.
Ready? On your mark, go!
The youngest Willis boy, Corey, will go down as the grand prize winner. of the Grant Park Centennial Frog Jumping Contest.
You have to hold them. Yeah, your picture.
In times like these, when it's easy to get down, you're my inspiration, my solid ground.
If there's one thing you notice about the towns along Route 1, towns like Grant Park, it's that the people are real proud of where they live.
Take Hoopeston, Illinois, for example, sweet corn capital of the world. Georgetown was surveyed with a eye. Momence is Gladland, USA, and along the road there you can see some of the gladiolas that prove it. Paris, Illinois has a nifty name, even if it was named for Paris, Kentucky. And then there's Lawrenceville. Well, sure, Lincoln came through, but townsfolk will also tell you Lawrenceville was where the first woman was legally hanged in Illinois. Husband poisoning.
You know, it really gets to you down here. I've got me a pack of Red Man chewing tobacco, got a chaw in my mouth, a little country music on the radio. I like it down here.
Sweet dream, baby.
Westville has a couple of things that put it on the map, but there's something else that's not on the sign. The Westville Public Library. It has, perhaps, the world's largest library collection of paperback romance novels. It says so right there in the New York Times.
What do the higher-ups in the library system think about this?
They think it's lovely.
Shirley Moretto is the librarian.
They try to have libraries specialize in something, and we didn't have anything that amounted to a lot, and this kind of settled on this.
Through donations, the collection has kept growing and growing. Now, the library has upwards of 4,000 paperback romances. They've had to remodel the back room 3 times to keep up with all the books.
Now, these are not regulation-sized bookshelves here.
No, they're special size for the paperbacks. Although some of them are a little deep. We fixed that so they don't go to the back. If you look behind them, there's egg cartons behind them.
There's egg cartons?
Egg cartons behind them.
Egg cartons behind
Egg cartons behind them.
There sure are.
Amazing what American ingenuity can do. No doubt it was a good dose of ingenuity that helped build the towns on Route 1. Towns like Rossville, about a third of the way down the state. In the old days, the town was called Henpeck. Now it's Rossville Village of Unusual Shops. In all the town, there's no shop more unusual than this one. The place used to be the First National Bank of Rossville. Now it's Aunt Jody's Christmas Bank, where it's Christmas year-round. And yes, Virginia, there is an Aunt Jody, though to this day we haven't been able to get her to tell us her last name.
What got you into Christmas in the first place?
Just the fascination of the holiday that I think some of us get caught up into the whip of things that we don't take time to really enjoy. And I don't think Christmas is the trappings, although what I have here are trappings. But I think there's a feeling at Christmas time that is so important.
We have several ornaments for our favorite teacher. And these are, this is a very ornament. And the children like the one where the worm is coming out of the apple.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes the mother has to talk them out of it.
Apple for the teacher.
Right.
The old bank vault is still filled with gold and silver in a holiday kind of style.
Where do you find all this stuff?
All over, just all over. Every nook and cranny, anything that even sounds like this, I go to investigate. And I do pick everything out, literally, piece by piece, because I don't want to use the space that is so valuable on something that I'm not proud of. And anything that goes out of here, I'm pretty proud of.
People told Aunt Jody she'd get tired of having Christmas every day, but it hasn't happened yet.
Good afternoon. This is Tabor Commodities in Oakland with the 1 o'clock market update.
Somebody in a state office somewhere has figured out that there are over 110,000 farms in Illinois. You get the as you travel Illinois 1.
The hogs down 7 to change, feeders down 70 to 60. Bellies remain firm up the limit 200 on the August bellies, up 105 to 110 on the remainder.
The Andrews farm covers 1,300 acres along Route 1. Neil Andrews has been farming soybean corn there for 28 years, good years and bad.
What's the crop like this year?
Well, time will tell, but it's very poor, I think.
These don't look all that terrific here, do
No.
they?
Some stalks won't have any. Now, this one has an ear on it, but if you get down the leg here, doesn't have an ear, anything on it, it's just going to be a barren stalk. There won't be a thing. It just won't produce a thing because of the hot weather.
So you could take a loss this year?
Very much so, yeah.
Why do you do it?
Well, it's just like anything. It's a job. It's a challenge, and it's just a good place to live, really. I'd rather live in the country, I believe, than I would someplace else.
Neil Andrews has his 2 sons working with him now. A lot of the farms along the road are family farms. That's how the farms keep going, passing on from father to son. Family tradition worth preserving.
Wonder who they are. It's Jacqueline. No, it isn't. Oh. Yeah, it is. No, it's not.
You don't have to look real hard to see how important some traditions are in this part of the country. We just happened to run across a park that seemed to be popular territory for family reunions. Since we're on one side, the Griders on the other.
I like this. They boast, the Grider family were an honest, plain group of people. They boast of fewer criminals than any other family of people, and court records very nearly bear out this statement. That's all right.
There were 62 Grider kinfolk at this reunion. They're of Swiss-German descent. To know the full story on the Griders, family historian Marge Foster is the one to ask.
How did the gathering of the clan start up?
Well, they started this reunion back in 1938. And it started back with the older people. And then the of the families and stuff just kept continuing it.
The Griders came to America in 1716, settling in Pennsylvania. From there, they moved to North Carolina, then Kentucky, then Illinois, and beyond. For many of Illinois' early settlers, there was no scene more familiar than this, the Wabash River, which with the Ohio forms the southeast border of Illinois. Many, many settlers came to live in the Wabash River Valley. One place they came is Grayville, population 2,300, sitting about 2/3 of the way downstate. And sitting in the middle of Grayville is Cary Lumber.
This is the plumbing department, huh?
Yes, the plumbing. This was over here and had to reversed.
How come you had to move it?
Well, the little kid come in, just sat down in it, used it while he was here.
At age 93, Abner Cary sells the standard stuff of hardware stores, but we heard about him because a rather literate way of going about the hardware business.
Never seen a nutmeg without a nutmeg grater. I've never seen a pocketbook look like an alligator. I've never seen a riverbank with a single shining penny. I've never seen a greedy guy who'd think he had too many. But I've seen Cary's lumber and hardware in his store. He holds his prices to the ground while other prices soar. That's pretty good advertising.
Yeah.
Huh?
For not quite as long as the Griders have been holding reunions, Ab Cary's been writing Let Me Explain in the Grayville Mercury Independent, his own special kind of advertising. Sometimes they're poems, sometimes little essays, but always there's the capitalistic punchline, as in this one, dated 1998. I feel so badly about the election that I can say no more, except that we still have good lumber and building material at so reasonable prices. Abner Cary.
I don't think I wrote all that, my God.
He couldn't read any to us. Mr. Cary's eyes aren't what they used to be, but his heart's working fine. And that's how he knows them, by heart.
Goliath was a Philistine, an ornery, crabby lot. Little David killed him with a pebble, and he deserved just what he got.
Keep going.
And as he lay there dying, he kept more and more. I wish I could have lived to see Ab Cary's hardware store. Years pile up.
Yeah. Mr. Cary says that writing once a week, he's had to take in pretty near every subject, even hangovers.
He held his head and cried when a cat stomped across the floor. And when his wife left the room, she banged and slammed the door. Why must a man suffer so for a few drinks he drank at the bar? They made him strong and smart and brave, these drinks, that the chances are. Either before or visiting, the chances are, see us for lumber, hardware, houseware. You get it in there.
A lot of poems have Wabash. I don't know. It's part of your life.
You like this old river?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Rivers have inspired writers through the years. Mark Twain had his Mississippi. Ab Carey has his Wabash.
They used to haul corn on barges here, and they'd scoop with scoop and drop an ear now and then, and us kids would be in the river there, and we'd run and grab that ear of corn, throw it out on the bank. At the end of the day, get quarter, 50 cents, something like that.
He spent a lot of time there as a boy, watching the barges go by, swimming during the dog days of summer.
Did you ever swim the Wabash just as hard as you could go, or drop from Bumpall Bridge into Bumpall Creek below? Did you ever undress while running, just to be the first one in and show the other fellows how you could dive and swim? Of all the memories of my boyhood, there's none that's half so fine as of swimming in the Wabash in the good old summertime.
Back in 1958, Ab Carey wrote, "Last week I made mention of the fact that I was thankful that I lived in Grayville, and have been wondering if Grayville is thankful I live here." There's no need to wonder, Mr. Carey.
Yes, something's coming up.
You gotta go home in the middle of the night, try and pretend things alright, but it ain't, no it ain't.
As you travel Illinois 1 towards the southern tip of the state, the landscape begins to change. Cornfields give way to trees and woodland. The glaciers, which leveled most of Illinois, left us some hills. Shawnee National Forest covers thousands of acres in the southernmost part of the state. This area is called Garden of the Gods. There are fascinating Illinois history in this part of the state, thanks in large part to the Ohio River. In the old days, it really was the state's first road, bringing settlers in from Kentucky and points east. The first place to get off the boat in Illinois was Shawneetown, which lays claim to being the state's oldest town.
To give you an idea of how important Shawneetown once was, there's this local legend. The bankers in this state bank here back in the 1830s were asked by a little town up north called Chicago to loan it some money. They said no, would never amount to anything, they figured, and besides, it was too far away from Shawneetown anyway.
Yes, Shawneetown during the 1800s. You know the expression land office business? Well, there was a land office in Shawneetown, and one traveler said the town had more appearance of business than I have seen this side of Pittsburgh. But if the river brought prosperity, it also brought the floods, year after year. For a long time, people just put up with it. Then came the flood of 1937. Opal Dietz remembers.
It was cold, it was January, and it was snowing, and it was storming every day, and people were, there was an exodus that came out town on foot, on horseback, and any kind of a vehicle they could commandeer, and everything was lost.
The flood of 37 was the last straw for a lot of people, including the Red Cross.
The Red Cross served notice. They had been here this time because they've been here through all those floods. And they said if you do not move and you have another flood, just count us out, you know. So this is what actually spurred the movement, I think.
So Shawneetown, water tower and all, was moved 3 miles back from the river, and new Shawneetown was born. That's where Opal Dietz lives now, in a house moved on logs from old Shawneetown.
And this was a cornfield, really. There's 100.
Where new Shawneetown is?
Yes, this was just a cornfield.
So where we're sitting was once a cornfield?
That's right.
Huh.
But the thing is, the highest spot that was out of the water, and that's what determined it to be moved here.
Even today, a few people live in the old abandoned Shawnee town, but much of it has fallen down or is about to. The fine houses and riverfront hotels that stood here are no more. The river that gave the town life took it away. Another town that played a role in early Illinois history is Cave-in Rock at the very bottom of the state. Today, there's a state park there, but in the early days, travelers had to beware of Cave-in Rock because of the cave.
Well, this is the cave. Back in the late 1700s, a fellow by the name of Sam Mason headquartered here. He was the ne'er-do-well son of a Virginia family, and what Sam would do was put up a sign, a kind of a crudely lettered sign that advertised liquor and entertainment. Settlers would come by in the river and see the sign, pull in, and belly up to the bar. Instead, old Sam would rob them, or worse.
Sam Mason eventually left the cave, but he was followed by a succession of thieves, murderers, and counterfeiters who headquartered there through the 1830s. Today, the river traffic has changed a little, and the business around Cave-in Rock is of a more legitimate nature. Still, if you let your imagination go, as one historian said, you can dream little beyond what actually happened here.
Illinois 1 ends here in Cave-in Rock. It literally disappears into the Ohio River. But if you get in the ferry and follow it across to the other side, it becomes Kentucky State Route 91, a road that leads to other roads, all with their own stories to tell. You just have to take the time to stop and listen. I'm Bob Wallace. So long from Illinois 1.